My name is Miss Emily, and I'm from the Fayetteville Public Library. I'm here with another story time for you. What I've been doing most at home lately is a lot of cooking. That's why I'm in my kitchen. I'm spending a lot of time in here lately. Like you, I've been home a lot. My husband and my son and I eat all of our meals here now, so I feel like somebody is always hungry and I'm always cooking. I found a book to share with you today about a really famous chef when she was a little girl. I'm going to read the story to you, and then I'm going to share a couple of pictures and recipes that we've been using lately. Maybe it will inspire you to do some cooking in your kitchen too. Okay, the book is called Julia Child. And here's the foreword. You are cordially invited to this tale for all ages about a child named Julia. While the story contains no true knowledge of the real Julia Child and should be taken with a grain of salt and perhaps even a generous pat of butter, we hope that you will find something here to savor. If you discover, as we have, that some stories taste best when shared with others, then all the better. Bon appetit! When Julia was very little, she had a splendid meal of sole meunier, and that was that. Julia fell in love with French food. She loved to eat French food, and she especially loved to cook it. On weekends, she and her friend Simka would shop at the market and gather new ideas and recipes. Back home in the kitchen, things didn't always turn out quite the way they expected or hoped. But together they took cooking and baking classes and practiced and learned a few tricks. Like many good friends, Julia and Simka sometimes disagreed about little things, but they never disagreed about the larger things. 1. Some friends are like sisters. 2. You can never use too much butter. 3. It is best to be a child forever. When they dreamt of the future, they always pictured themselves cooking happily together, the oldest children in the world. Life was filled with far too many grown-ups who did not know how to have a marvelous time. The girls had no wish to become big, busy people, wary and worried, hectic and hurried. One day, Julia and Simka had an idea of how to fix things for themselves and the grown-ups they knew. They would make recipes for growing young. Each day for a week, they worked on their dishes. They cooked extra slowly to bring out the flavor of not hurrying. They used delicate spices so that worries would disappear and wonders would rise to the surface. When they were ready, they set a beautiful table, making sure the flowers were fresh and the cups were full. As the savory scent of cooking wafted through the streets, a curious crowd began to gather. Soon, all sorts of big, busy people wanted a place at the table. And what a table it was. Fluffy clouds of cheese souffle, perfect loaves of crusty baguette, a golden compote of fresh peaches, sweet as summer sunlight. At first, the room was very quiet as the grown-ups nibbled and sampled. Then the room began to fill with sound, a shriek of pleasure, a shout of delight. All those big, busy people who were weighed down with worries, who couldn't remember the last time they climbed a tree or even rode a bicycle, who never watched cartoons and only read biographies, well, they began to have a marvelous, rowdy, childlike time. But then things started to go not so marvelously. As they ate, the grown-ups began to argue. They seemed they were very hungry, too hungry. They were hungry for the fun they had forgotten and the games they no longer played. They grabbed the food up all at once, fearful it would not last. Just look at them, said Julia. "Where did we go wrong?" "I think the problem is not that the world is filled with too many grown-ups," said Simka. "The problem," said Julia, "is that too many grown-ups don't have the proper ingredients." So, for their last recipe, the two friends fixed a few things, adding a pinch of this and a dash of that. They made smaller portions, not too little, not too big, just enough to feed the sensible children from whom these senseless grown-ups grew. The room fell quiet. Petit gâteau, chocolate almond cupcakes with chocolate butter icing and the richest, creamiest centers. Each morsel was so delicious. "There's plenty for us all," announced Julia, so the grown-ups would get over their feelings of never-enoughness. And it worked. This time, when they ate their cakes, they were a little less beastly and a little more generous. Well, sort of. The truth is, grown-ups often need some extra help. Baffled and befuddled, mindless and muddled, they sometimes forget what they know. So Julia and Simka made a cookbook to remind them. It's called Mastering the Art of Childhood. Julia Child. This book was written by Kyle MacLear and the pictures were by Julie Morstad. I just thought that one was really fun. One of the first things we made were loaves of French bread. Oh man, were they good. One afternoon, my mom came and made sugar cookies with my son Miles. This chicken was maybe the easiest thing I've ever made and one of the tastiest. Our most recent cooking was making cinnamon rolls. These took a long time, but were so good. We delivered them to some of our friends and neighbors. I'm telling you, if you want to make new friends, this is the best way to do it. I hope you enjoyed today's story about Julia Child. And maybe you found some inspiration for some new things to cook in your kitchen with your kids. Remember, cooking doesn't have to be complicated. Right now I've had a little more time than usual, but you can always make something as simple as no-bake cookies. Spending time in the kitchen with your kids is a great way to develop their social skills, life skills, even some basic math and measuring. It's a wonderful thing to do together as a family. So give it a try this week and let me know if you try something new. See you next time.